Now, there's this Facebook group called the Autistic A-List Alliance. They actually recently changed their name to that. It used to be called the Autistic Advocate Alliance. And the story goes, basically a key player in the AS advocacy community, a fellow by the name of Greeley, he left the group, which caused a great uproar. And the administration for Autistic A-List Alliance, now it's called, they said, oh, Greeley left because he hates our spirituality. And I looked into it, and I discovered that it was complete and utter bullshit. Basically, when they mean spirituality, what they really mean is snake oil. They mean mystical woo, quackery, and just pseudoscience in general. And they're trying to pass that off as spirituality, when it in fact isn't spirituality. I actually made a video explaining all of this, explaining how snake oil and quackery is not at all spirituality, and also explained valid reasons as to why trying to combine that with the AS community is quite harmful. And that video itself, basically, I used it as a test for this Facebook group. What I wanted to do, well, I wasn't sure if they actually supported woo and quackery or not. So I made this video in the hopes that I'd present these well-reasoned arguments, and they'd basically come back to the light. And I posted that into the group, and I didn't share it with my subscribers. I just only shared it with the Facebook group, and straight away it started getting dislikes. And within 2 hours, they actually removed my post on the Facebook group about the video. And not only that, I was actually accused of being a provocateur in private messages by the admins of the group. And it wasn't just me that had my content removed and censored, but also other advocates that were posting respectful, moderate, and perfectly rational posts, and that also have them removed. Just the other day, I saw someone making quite an extraordinary claim in the group. They actually claimed that a lot of people on the spectrum have something called thyroid. So basically, I tried to reply to this person, this Holly Lindquist person, tried to refute her claim, and discovered that she had actually taken down her post. So I said, oh, okay, no worries. I'll just make a new post and post my refutations there. So I did, single shot, it's a generalization, and, it's successfully refuted. But what followed really shocked me. Like, instead of some sort of discussion on it or counter argument or something, instead I got all these false accusations levied against me. It was just this outpouring of hatred, right? They falsely accused me of stuff like, being passive aggressive and unkind, and then they accused me of defamation, which is quite a coincidence. They accused me of bashing people, of trolling and starting shit, personal attacks on Holly, of having a malicious intent. And then this Richard Johnson fellow, he also joins the conversation, and he accuses me of doxing. Isn't that amazing? And accuses me of personal attacks, stirring up division, and pissing on spirituality, in quotes. Now, here's the original post. You can see that it contains none of that garbage. Okay, all my videos are public and can be viewed by everyone. And you can see for yourself that there is no doxing or personal attacks. Yeah, it's just none of the claims are there. Everyone can see that they're just bullshit. And I have to ask, what sort of person makes up such blatantly false and absolutely disgusting accusations? And this, Richard Johnson fellow, I've no idea how pieces of shit like this end up as admin, but he basically made even more false accusations, and before I could even respond to defend myself against them, I was kicked from the group. And afterwards he gloats about it and makes even more false accusations when I'm not there. It takes a special kind of scumbag to be able to do that. They also let the cat out of the bag as to where they stand exactly on woo, quackery, and pseudoscience in general. So basically, they're talking about my video where I debunk this tapping on the face nonsense, where they talk about something called EFT, where you tap yourself on the face and it cures emotional pain, or it removes emotional pain, whatever it is, and it cures physical pain, supposedly. And it also does stuff like magically grants abilities for AS people, except for the fact that in my video I also provided 3 scientific papers on this that actually do debunk it and show that it is indeed snake oil, that it is a way of inducing the placebo effect. And what this EFT does is it essentially robs people of much needed treatment to the point where it can potentially harm or even kill them. In the same video, you presented the words of an atheist as somehow authoritative. So isn't that interesting? So basically, he'll only take the words of whoever else is in his specific religious denomination. These guys, they are actively censoring and silencing advocates while siding with the quacks and trying to push woo and quackery under the guise of spirituality. It is the exact opposite of being an advocate, and frankly, they are traitors to the AS community. Another interesting thing that they said in the thread, this Holly Lindquist, she actually said, "I know there are autistic people who join groups and are afraid to participate or share their experiences precisely because of stuff like this." And then she ends it with, "It's so vital to create a safe space here and in other autism support groups, because many of us have never felt safe in sharing." And you might be scratching your head thinking, what the fuck? How can that be? When I was the one that was slandered, I was the one that was silenced and then kicked. How is it that they can talk about their safety like that? What are they talking about? And I'll read you something else Richard Johnston has pinned on the Facebook group. Hang on. "This space is a safe space for autistic and allistic alike. Whether you are neurodivergent or neurotypical, this space is a safe space. I will fight for this to be so. I, like others, was bullied in the past, and I won't have a group that I am an admin of be a place that condones such behavior." Now, they're not actually talking about being safe from harm, not at all. What they're actually talking about is being safe from criticism. They're talking about being safe from even the most basic scrutiny, to fight and censor and silence anyone that tries to criticize these dumb ideas. Now, the problem with that is that it is simply not viable. Okay, if your goal is to have AS people accepted just like neurotypicals are, you simply don't have any chance. If your ideas can't be criticized and they can't exist in the marketplace of ideas, it's just not going to work. Advocacy and activism cannot work within a bubble where no one is allowed to criticize you. It just isn't viable. Okay, you can't debunk nonsense by silencing people and shutting down conversations. Okay, because what people will think when you do that is you think, oh yeah, they're trying to censor me and silence me because they don't like being told the truth. They think they view it as a harsh truth. They don't like, they just don't like hearing the truth. This Richard Johnston fellow, he also made a video saying how much vaccine speech hurts him, and he didn't have a valid argument for it. He just said how much it hurt him, and to say that it hurts, yes, of course it does, but it's not an argument. It's what's called an argument from emotion. You being hurt simply doesn't validate anything. Okay, and he also says, I don't know how to handle it, or something along those lines. Well, you handle it by making a cogent fucking argument against it. Okay, you don't handle it by being offended and shutting down the conversation. That it's not viable. Okay, what you're really saying when you do that is you're saying, look, my views are too weak to be criticized. That's what you're really saying when you shut down the conversation. You're saying my views cannot withstand any kind of scrutiny, and it's no different to telling them that they're right. Don't let these anti-advocate traitors push this onto the community. Don't let them implement this regressive garbage, this anti-freedom of speech, this safe space nonsense where you can't be criticized, and definitely not this mystical woo and quackery crap that's already been debunked. If this kind of garbage does make its way into the AS community as something that is accepted and is commonplace or even viewed as normal, our fight for acceptance simply will not succeed.
It goes beyond just offering a different point of view, and it's clearly that they are wishing harm or bad feelings upon the person in question. And that kind of speech, it's effective, but it's effective in hurting somebody.
Many autistics, myself included, find it really hurtful. We find it really harmful when people come in and make claims about the damage that vaccines do, and intimate, even without saying it, that perhaps vaccines cause autism. When that stuff gets said, it hurts us and it harms us.
Well, I think my answer's been anticipated, personally.
Right.
If someone tells me that I've hurt their feelings, I say, well, I'm still waiting to hear what your point is.
Right.
I'm very depressed how in this country you can be told, that's offensive, as if those two words constitute an argument.
We're moving towards a strained dictatorship of rage, where any approved group or any approved person's fury, this idea that any opinion legitimately expressed can be dismissed on the grounds that it is an offence or an insult to an individual, is the foundation of a new and terrifying censorship. And censorship is the foundation of tyranny. And if you don't want censorship or tyranny, then you must support this motion. Thank you very much.
They don't even know how to recognize a modern day shaman, medicine man, healer, witch doctor, sorcerer, alchemist. You know why they don't know how to recognize them in the modern day? Because guess who they are in this modern day? autistic people. Especially autistic people who are savants in the right hemisphere of the brain, like myself and many others whom I have been connecting with, and you are warming my heart.